This is TLFM Online Radio Station Chicago. Dimensión Latina FM Radio TV. Baja nuestra aplicación a través de tu iPhone o Android. Búscanos como Dímela FM. Búscanos en TuneIn Radio como Dimensión Latina FM y visita nuestra página web dimelafm.com.
This is ELSA PRADO with Wings of Love. Today we have a guest who is doing arts, and she is a mixed media artist, educator, curator, and creative community organizer. And we have known each other for a very long time. But finally today, we're going to actually do a program with her because she's very much involved in our community. And she's also the co-founder and executive director of Pilsen Arts and Community House, which is very big here in Chicago. For those that are not familiar with Chicago, we welcome you, Teresa Magaña.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming here and telling our public and our audience about your programs and all the work that you're doing at the community center.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me today, for sure.
Oh, you're most welcome. Yeah, no, I'm glad. Yeah, we should have done it sooner, but you know how it goes, right?
Yeah,
life gets busy for us at some point. So, but I'm glad you're here, and tell us a little bit more about you. Tell us a little bit more about what you have going on at the Pilsen Arts Center.
Yeah. So I've been working with Pilsen Arts and Community House, formerly Pilsen Outpost, for coming up on almost 10 years. So we were a formal gallery called Pilsen Outpost before, that's how we
met initially.
Yeah.
Yes.
But during the pandemic, when everything shut down, we had to really figure out a way how we were going to sustain ourselves and stay open for the public and the community when everything did open up again.
Right.
So we had already started on the trajectory of becoming a nonprofit. It was something we were going to kind of take our time with, but when everything shut down, we're like, no, this is the time to do it. And luckily when July of 2020, everybody kind of opened up their doors again with, safety precautions and everything. We had already converted to a nonprofit. So we're coming up on 3 years in July, and it's been really great. We've gotten a lot of support from the community, from the city, with a couple little grants here and there, just donations and supporters, and we've been able to continue the work that we've been doing all this time. So,
which is excellent and much needed in the community. I think that if anything, our safe haven is always the arts for most people, and just to have that outlet, the creative energy.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's actually how I started much later in life, like delving into the arts was it was always part of my life, but 10 years ago I was going through a lot of different life changes, and I just really delved into the arts, and it really was my therapy.
It is.
So I'm a self-taught artist, and I got to learn from a lot of other artists as well, which it's a common thread amongst a lot of us,
a lot of artists will say that they're self-taught, but I think you also have to recognize that the talent was already there.
Yeah, you're right.
It's those gifts of God that we're not tapped into prior to you actually wanting to go there and tapping into them. But
or even having like the resources or the places to help pull that out of you. So,
but I've seen your work, and it's magnificent, and you're doing a lot of stuff also for women, or those pieces that I have seen where you're really embodying the woman and all that stuff that the internalized part of it.
Yeah.
Tell us about that work that you're working on, because I love it when I see it.
Thank you.
I scroll down through the posts on Facebook and stuff like that, and I get to see it.
Yeah. So it's the series, I call it Sexy Lines. The line work is very much inspired by pinstriping style, but also with like Dia de los Muertos type of theme and motif, because it has a lot of those swirls and curls and droplets and dots, which I actually had painted for many years, calaveras and skulls, and internalizing like who we are just as a human body. And then over the last couple of years, it's like I was working from like very deep within backwards and now coming outwards. So it's like starting with the skull, then the flesh, then more it's like energy, spiritual type thing for me, is that the line work shapes who we are as women internally, and that can look at many different ways. And I think when we can see those sexy lines within ourselves, it's a certain empowerment that we that invokes inside of us, and I think that's very powerful for women.
Right.
And so I've been doing those, but I also, to bring it further, I've been practicing more on like portrait style painting and illustration, and putting flesh to it, you know. So
right,
it's
exactly.
like, so
you're going from the bone to the flesh.
Yes, exactly.
But it's really cool when I see them. And let's speak about the fact that today is Women's Day.
I didn't realize until the
today
afternoon.
is Women's Day. Let's
Yes.
we have to add a little touch to the day, Dia de la Mujer, and that you are bringing that out.
Thank
You're
you.
bringing that part of it from the inside out.
Yeah.
But I also picked up on that piece how you're also throwing in the spiritual.
Yes. I think as, we experience a lot of different things in different stages in our lives, from young girls to young women, to, whether it's marriage, parenthood, motherhood. There's so many stages that we as women go through that we are constantly evolving, and those lines, those shapes, the art itself has been evolving with me as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And as you evolve, so does your art. And that's the magic in it. And one of the things that I did pick up on, I'm like, oh wow, Teresa's got the body, the mind, and the spirit all wrapped into her art.
Yeah.
That was what I perceived from it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Because those are the pieces that, all art evokes something in the person that's looking at it.
Yeah.
So that's what I picked up from it.
It's actually, thank you for saying that, because that is a big part of why I do that. I feel like in my late 20s and early 30s, I was, and as I'm meeting a lot of women in that age range now recently, we all kind of go through this similar stages, and, being 43 now and looking back, I'm like, wow, if at that time I didn't have women mentors that were guiding or maybe helping me in certain ways, I had to really seek that out. When I talk to young women that are looking at my artwork and they tell me exactly what you just said, I'm like, good, because I can't obviously speak to everybody, but if the art speaks to you,
the art speaks to you, right?
Yeah.
And then that you have good pieces of art when it actually speaks to your audience. Whoever's viewing it.
Yeah.
Because we get it, when you have, our image as women, and then it's like it's talking.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's speaking to you.
Exactly.
So I think that's one of those things that also empower us as women, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When you, if you really start going, digging deeper, which I'm always this person. People tell me, "Oh, you're deep." Yeah. For some reason, I like to internalize. I like to go through those deep waters,
right?
Because our minds are so profound, and it's like the depths of our minds and our souls. Because I that was one of Teresa's got some soul here.
Yeah, well, that's something
I've captured from your work.
Yeah, and I'm a strong believer in that. Our soul, our spirit. We're in this life right now, but who knows where we were before and where we're gonna go after, and we're just living this human experience. And it's really weird because sometimes I feel like I'm very aware of my physical body, but I don't feel like I belong here.
Right.
And it's like, when am I going to get done with this human experience so I can go evolve to these other things that I'm feeling
or go
internally?
to the place where you do feel like you belong,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That
exactly.
happens to me too. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. When do I get to pass my exit out of here?
Right.
You know, because sometimes it just seems like feeling like a misfit. Would that be the best place?
Yeah,
you know what I
and I think a lot of creative folks in different creative forms, and people that are kind of leaders and speakers, or where community, by default comes to you, for different things. Like, yeah, you're kind of on this path where you're like, okay, I must have experienced something before to be here, and now
Right.
I'm like doing this, kind of thing. So,
And then
that's
as you
very
get
true.
older, you're going to be mentoring more because, you're going to have the younger generation that is trying to vibrate at a higher level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when that
Yeah.
happens, they're going to be seeking you.
And it's very interesting because I just had a talk with a young woman yesterday about that exactly, where I feel like I don't want to overstep my boundaries either and be
Right.
this señora, because now people call me señora more, and I'm
Señora.
like, no, I don't where
No, it makes you feel old. That's the problem.
yeah, but I'm like, I don't want to overstep and say something if it's unsolicited. So sometimes I'll be like, do you want some unsolicited advice? And they'll be like, yes. And some young women will be like, yeah, please tell me. And others, you kind of feel the vibe or whatever. But I'm in this transitional period where, like, I feel the urge to want to share and kind of give advice or share my experience, that maybe that they might learn something from it. But I also don't want to be this thing that I think she knows it all. But this
Right.
young woman told me, she's like, but you have the experience, so don't
Right.
hold yourself back. And I'm like, thank you. Yeah,
Exactly. And you shouldn't. And this,
Yeah.
you have this time and you have this expression that you're painting and that you're drawing and that you're doing all this, whatever it is, whether it be a canvas or wherever you decide to put your work. Because I remember when you were doing those murals and
Yeah. It's I got to do one right before it got cold. It's November last year, so I was happy that occasionally I will still do a mural here and there.
yeah. But when I met you, you were doing a lot of murals.
Yeah, and that was definitely during a time where I had set my sight on art is going to sustain me. I gave it 1,000%, and it was very fruitful, because a lot of the projects and things that I did as an independent artist, now I've been able to use that for the organization now, but also sharing those experiences with others, or sharing those resources or network as well. So I feel like I don't know if my body can take it that much anymore. I have to take
Right.
smaller jobs. But yes, it was I think I was on maybe a 4 to 5 year straight run of doing bigger projects.
Back to back,
Yeah,
right?
back to back. And
Yeah.
it supported, me and my family. And I'm very happy to say, like, I didn't have to, at that time, depend on juggling multiple jobs and things like that, and life changes, sometimes you got to do that. But during that time, it was very fruitful in that way. So.
Yeah. And I guess it goes to show you and all the people that told us that we couldn't survive in the arts. Right?
Yes. I don't know if you remember this convo. When we first met, I had just got laid off from my corporate job of 14 years, and everybody was looking for their lineup of work and doing interviews, and they're like, Teresa, what are you going to do? And I'm like, oh, I've been doing art. I'm just going to take my severance and do art full time. And
And then
like,
you get the jaw dropped out.
yeah, they would freak out, and they're
Right.
like, but you have 2 kids. And I'm like, they're not gonna go hungry, they're not gonna
Right.
like not have a roof over their head. And everybody was scared for me, and there was just something really inside of me that said, no,
I can do this.
everything aligned. Yeah.
Right.
And that I could do it. And it worked out. Yeah.
And you had to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the message we have to tell a lot of the women in the world,
Yeah.
especially the ones younger than us.
Yeah.
Believe in yourselves.
Yeah.
Believe in those things that you're carrying in your heart and that you could do. And
Yeah.
there's always going to be people that will try to steer you away from what your actual you know, whatever mission you have
Yeah.
to accomplish, or whatever your soul path is. I love that word.
Yes.
You
soul
know,
path, I
whatever
love
your
it.
soul path is.
Yeah.
Obviously, we found our soul paths, and we're supposed to do what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know, as part of our time here
Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
planet.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
While we're here. But I think that just being genuine, right? Don't you think? Just
Yeah.
being that, you know, being genuine about your authentic self is so important.
Yeah. And that's hard to get to.
And
but-
not being afraid to be your authentic self.
Right. But once you reach that point where you truly are like, I don't really care what anybody thinks,
Right.
as long as this is making me happy, as long as this is fulfilling me, it really doesn't matter. And when you reach that point, like seriously, the universe will just start
Comes
putting things
together
in front
for
of
you.
you, and it's like, oh, now you're ready. So also on the flip side, you have to know, like, be ready when you are open to receive, you know, Diosito, the universe, the goddess, whatever you want to call it, like, they will give it to you.
Exactly.
You know, in a very positive way.
In a very positive way. You
yeah.
will be provided for. I
Yeah.
always have said that
Yeah.
my whole entire life.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter would look at me. I said, yeah, Mom, God provides. You know, she would just look at me. I'm like,
Yeah.
God provides, I'm
Yeah.
telling you. And, you know, no matter what happened,
Yeah.
and even if, you know, we had to do the single route, Mom, and all that, you know, where your kids look at us and they're like, are we going to survive, Mom?
And they're like, yeah. I always tell them,
Yes.
like, you are never
Yes.
hungry. You always
Right.
have a full belly. So that is something to be, you know, obviously thankful
Exactly,
for.
thankful for every
Yeah.
single day. And gratitude is part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
that's part of it. So tell us about the projects you have going on right now. Like, what's available for the community? What kinds of events or what kinds of classes do you have going on right now?
Yeah. So 2023 has kicked off so amazingly. It's March 8th, and we've already done, I don't know, maybe over 30 events and classes and programs. And just today, I was telling you, I was in a
Yes.
room full of 100 people doing an art activity. So we've already reached hundreds of people in the last 2.5 months. But so we have drawing classes for kids 9 to 13 years old.
Okay, perfect.
We found that there was a gap of having art classes for very, very young kids,
Right.
and then teenagers. So there was this gap and I'm like, okay, let's try to fill that gap.
Right.
So right now we're working with a cohort of students with some drawing classes, watercolor classes. That has been a true, like, therapeutic evening art class for people, and so we've been doing that. We've also been working with an artist that does abstract art,
Okay.
and the theme of it is visual journaling, and so they basically guide you through journaling some ideas and thoughts, and then painting.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
what comes out. So that's also been very therapeutic. So naturally this year, like, all our art classes that we've been doing have been very serving in that way.
Tell me that we don't have to find ways of healing from the pandemic. We do.
Right, right.
Right? Like
There is
2.5
a lot
years. Let's all heal.
processing.
You know?
Yes, we are all processing a
Yes.
lot. We've started our open mics once a month, so that's every third Thursday, and we invite people to read poetry, do storytelling, singer-songwriters or musicians. They can come and perform as well. We got I keep bragging about this. We got a nice little grant from DCASE, and that was
Awesome.
able to help us invest in a
That's
formal PA system. So we have
Yes.
speakers and a microphone. So that's been really nice. Aside from that, like, we have been hosting schools and universities. They come in, like, small class groups, and then we do presentations for them and some workshop activity for them.
That's fantastic.
And really the space is there for the community. So we do some of our own programming, but the other half of the programming is other community members wanting to use the space and offer. For example, there was a Moon Circle session last night where it was femme identifying folks coming in to just kind of talk through the moon cycle is crazy for some of us, so we have to, like, have a group to talk through, but they also focus on wellness and healing through Reiki, sound meditation, and other type of cultural healing practices. So other folks will come into the space and utilize it to offer their services. And a lot of times it's either donation based or free or low cost. So we always try to keep everything really accessible.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And is there a phone number, or how is it that you want to be reached? Like if any of the audience wants to reach out, give us the website or the phone number or whatever information you feel is the best way to reach out.
So I tell everybody Instagram is the most live and up-to-date way that you'll find out everything that we're doing. So we are Pilsen Arts with an S Community House on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook as well. But honestly, Instagram feeds Facebook, so
they feed each other.
Yeah, exactly. Our website, we do get a lot of good traffic on our website because that's where we put all the current workshops and classes and RSVPs for any type of free events as well. So that website is pilsenartscommunityhouse.org. And then honestly, we have very consistent, constant hours. It's Wednesday through Sunday from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
So Wednesday through Sunday, you can find someone in the gallery and talk to us. And if there's something that we can offer or answer any questions, we're there.
Perfect. And what else do you have like coming up? Like what is like if anybody wants to sign up for something? What's like the up and coming?
Yeah, this weekend we are jam packed. So Friday we have a self-love club that's going to be in the gallery, and it's going to be a host of female vendors selling their items that are for self-care.
Okay.
But we also have an opening at Low Res Brewery, so we curate the artwork inside their space, and this is for Pintoras Mexicanas, so they're a collective of artists. This particular group is the Chicagoland area, but they have artists from all over the world. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's on Friday at Low Res Brewery. Saturday we have our drawing class. We also have a Easter Bunny painting class for young kids and families.
If anybody wants to do an Easter activity,
exactly,
that's perfect.
Yeah. And Sunday we have a spring cleansing workshop. So this is a workshop to kind of talk about kind of how you're cleansing your home spiritually, and
which is important.
Which is really important.
People don't realize the stuff that's lurking in your house.
Yes, and sage is just not like this magical thing. Like there's some science to like clearing and cleaning the air, with some of this
clearing
as well.
Your space.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And yes, the very strong spiritual side of it. And so all of those classes are really accessible. Something that I do encourage people to utilize on our website is that most of our registrations will say pay what you can. So if the fee is, let's say, $20, but you can only do $10 or less, whatever it is, you just select the option pay what you can. So I always tell people, like, do it, don't let anything hold you back. And sometimes we sponsor folks for classes, so if you really want to take it, you just send us an email and say, hey, can you please sign me up? So.
Excellent. See, we have no excuses.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly
we have
the reason.
Excuses,
Yeah.
So if you were trying to figure out what to do for Lent, there's options. Right?
Absolutely.
There's options. And not only that, I mean, there's options where they can get something or they can put something into the program.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm just throwing out all the options.
Yes. Yes.
And there's all kinds of options for everybody. I'm really glad that you came and you're sharing all this information with the community because, some people are like, oh, wow, I didn't even know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that does happen.
And it's for all ages. And, whether you come by yourself or you bring a friend, something we're also doing is lino cut printmaking classes.
Okay.
And you pay once for the first class, but we encourage people to keep coming back to be able to work with other people that have taken the class, because sometimes you get a little bit more motivated by working with other people around you creatively.
I always do.
Yeah.
It's like bring a friend.
Yes,
so you can be silly together.
Yeah. So bring a friend. I tell people we're BYOF, bring your own food friendly, so you can snack in there. For some of our evening sessions, we are, we're all adults for the evening sessions, so sometimes we do need a little bit of, being able to relax. So we're BYOB friendly,
okay.
If that encourages anybody to come through. But yeah, so we, you'll always meet somebody there that you can connect with. And that's been the beautiful thing since the beginning of the year, is that people are seeking somewhere to go and like just let out these creative juices and ideas flowing. And it's sometimes, sometimes it just takes once, and it's a nice dose, of, just feeling that happiness or that contentment. And you never know if you'll come back later in the year. I always tell people we're there. So, and
I'm sure you've already probably helped people become or bring out the artist in them, or those kinds of things.
You know what? That's we never really know until like sometimes years later.
Yeah, they come back and they tell you, "Oh, did you know?"
Yeah, there's one particular sisters that we worked with, and we did a clay making workshop with a group of young people, and they were nurses and admin staff at a clinic that we were helping to do these workshops with, and they enjoyed it so much that they started doing their own clay jewelry.
Oh,
and
really?
Then they really like took it on as an entrepreneurial endeavor, and the Clay Chicas, shout out to them. They always remind me, and Dr. Mendez, who we were working with, he always tells me, he's like, Teresa, it was that one class they were monitoring and doing, and it was virtual. We were doing a virtual class at that time, and they're like, look it, and I was like, oh my God, that makes me so happy. Like sometimes
Doesn't
it just,
it?
yeah, and they, one of the sisters told me, they're like, we had never played with that type of material, because it was like a baked type of clay to use. So that, we just never really know how we inspire others,
but
when
you
we
have,
share that.
and that's, I had to point that out, because it's those times that you inspire others that really makes it rewarding.
Yeah.
Right? It's really rewarding, isn't it, when you are able to get that?
Yeah. And I mean, I've received that from other women and other female artists. So definitely, that should be a continual channel of like sharing it with others as well.
Exactly. And that one of the things that I really truly enjoy is just us women empowering other women. So that they can get to those places that when we were younger, we were trying to get to.
Yeah.
It's so.
And I always tell folks, especially women, it's not as hard as they make us think.
Yeah.
As hard as it looks, or as hard as the outside world makes us think it is. It's really not that hard. Like, we all know how to Google stuff. We all know how to like do our research.
Yeah.
There's so much that you can really do on your own, and not feel like there's a barrier of like, oh, well, I can't afford a lawyer to do this for me, or I can't afford for the fee to do this or that. And it's like, it might take a little bit more work, but there's ways to do all of it. So
that's why there's the saying, where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah. I don't believe in doors and walls. I break through them, or I go around them, or whatever.
Yeah, I've gone through that, where I tell myself, you know what, you're not a PRADO if you can't get through this.
That's funny.
You gotta have determination and perseverance, or you don't get nowhere. You just realize that about yourself. You have to be the person to push yourself to.
Because nobody will do it for you.
No one will do it for you. You just have to make yourself do it sometimes, and that's what it is. And it's okay,
Yeah.
It's okay to be human, I say, right?
Yeah.
It's okay.
And it's different stages. Everybody's at a different stage. I've learned through the years of working with a number of different kind of creative folks, whether it's visual artists or other kind of artists, is that sometimes I get so passionate about what they're doing, and I'm like, you could do this, you could do that. And they're just very happy, at the stage that they're in right now. And then I'm like, okay, Teresa, let them be. When they're ready, they will come to that,
Right.
And so that's also sometimes like allowing yourself the space, because we get hard on ourselves because there's people like me being like, you could do more, you could do this. And it's like, no, everything with its time. You know?
Yeah. That's so true. But it's also, just motivating, I guess, to see, the younger generations going for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel they're not as fearful as maybe we were when we were younger. I don't know.
But
it's really inspiring.
There were people that put the fear of God in us. Come on, tell me they didn't.
Yeah.
I think that as generations have evolved, I think that some of these younger generations, I know I didn't do the terrorizing. That was kind of me. You know what I mean? Because we kind of learned.
Yeah.
Let's not terrorize the kids.
Yeah,
you know?
we got to
So
do different. We got to
do it differently. So, like they say, every generation, you cannot raise them the way your parents raised you, because everything's different.
Yeah, yeah. It's I've had some hard lessons with my children. They're 24 and 20 now, and they each had like different stages where it was just really tough. And I remember like myself and my sister at those particular stages, like 18 to 20, where we were forced, like, you better figure it out.
Exactly.
If you don't figure it out, you're out of the house. If you you don't have a job, you got to figure it out. And just not really having like that 100% support,
yeah.
that as parents or other adults or other mentors, like being like, I got you. Sometimes people just need to feel like somebody's got my back.
Exactly. I think we all need to have just to hear that somebody's got your back and somebody's going to at least hear you out.
Yeah.
When you're going through the pains of like, oh my God, this is like hard work, but I'm going to get through it. I just need somebody to be on my side and just, kind of like, just say, hey, how's it going today?
Both my kids have taught me a lot about checking in with them, also checking in on myself, and then also like checking in with each other, because they don't stay kids forever.
They don't.
At some point, we are adult to adult, and I know it's very hard as parents to be like, well, you're always going to be my kid, but no, honestly, like, we need to respect them as the human beings and adults that they are. And my daughter's famous for telling me this. Oh, I don't get it why old people expect us to respect them. They need to respect us too. And at first I used to be thrown aback by it, because I'm like, no, like, to a certain extent, respect your elders, respect people that have more knowledge or experience in life. But also younger generations are experiencing a different kind of life.
Exactly.
And as our older generations are getting older, we need to respect each other so we can learn from each other.
Exactly.
And it's very hard sometimes, but it's very possible.
It is very possible, because then you realize it's a two-way street. And it's give and take, and we start understanding where you don't have like the that kind of kingdom style stuff. I said so,
right.
I'm the father, and it has to be blah 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 blah, you know what I mean? And there's no shades of gray nowhere. That's kind of hard too, so when you have a little bit more flexibility and you have more understanding, it makes a big difference.
And I think definitely the emotional well-being and mental health well-being of our younger generations is very different from maybe, I don't know if it's because they're more self-aware and very much more in tune with all of it, whereas like our generations, like, we were just, you push through it, force yourself through it, you deal with it later. So really being kind to younger folks and trying to put yourself in their place to understand like where you at emotionally and mentally, because it's oftentimes, and I experienced that within my own family, is that we do need to check in with our young people, because they're not doing okay all the time.
They're not okay in many instances. Not when you have the suicide rates that we have today, as opposed to,
And so it's been some hard lessons for my family personally, but other families that I know as well, and sometimes just even if it's a text, how are you today?
Exactly. Exactly. How was your day? Is something so basic, so simple. But it makes a big, huge difference. Big difference. I tell you, motherhood's not easy.
No way. No,
on this Woman's Day, motherhood is never easy.
And they tell us it's good, they get older, and it's like, it doesn't go away. It just comes with other things.
Our job is never done.
But
we don't stop worrying, do we?
No, we can suppress it, but we will always worry. I do better now. I don't call or text as much to be like, where are you? If I don't hear from them in 48 hours, I'm like, are you alive? Yes. I get the thumbs up, and then I'm like, okay.
It makes us feel better.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Just know that you're loved, kids.
Yes.
Just know that you're loved when you have that mom checking on you.
Oh,
it's
for
just
sure.
love. That's all.
Yeah, that's
Know
true.
it for what it is. So what would you like to say in closing?
Oh, wow. Well, it's been a very exciting, like I said, 2023. For me personally, this year has started with all the goals and trajectory that we wanted for the organization, but also on a personal level too, with working with others. I still got to work on my personal art a little bit more, but
Yeah.
But just to know that, you know, there are spaces and community groups in your neighborhoods, in your towns, and sometimes you just got to seek them out a little bit more. And that's how people find us, you know, like
Exactly.
Pilsen Arts Community House.
Give them the address in case somebody's trying to figure out what the address is.
So it's 1637 West 18th Street, and so we're right between Paulina and Ashland. And if you are familiar with the Pilsen area and the famous Panaderia Nuevo León, we are right across the street from them.
Okay.
So I always tell people we're across from the bakery.
So go get your pan, a coffee, and go enjoy something.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us today and, you know, sharing all of this information and everything. It's been a great chat.
Yeah,
I've really enjoyed
I
it.
know. I hadn't caught up in a while, so I'm glad in this format we have.
Right, at least we got a chance to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's been a while. But thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yeah.
And if anybody's looking for any of this information, you now have everything that you need so you can go check out this Pilsen Art Center.
Yeah, thank you. Gracias.
Thank you, Teresa. And to all the women, well,
Yes.
Feliz Día de la Mujer.
Que sigan saying, keep being chingonas.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, till next time, thank you for joining us and thank you for staying with us throughout the program. And we will be with you next week. Till next time, bye-bye.
Hasta aquí llegamos con nuestra programación en vivo. Gracias por tu sintonía. Gracias por tu sintonía. Dimensión Latina FM, tu radio por internet.